Good morning, everyone. I'm George, Digital Consultant at Digital CDL, and I welcome you to this seventh and final lesson of Chapter 1 of the course. This segment delves into the concept of organizational culture, which, in this context, does not allude to the degree of enlightenment, but rather refers to a confluence of explicit and implicit norms and shared values that act as the behavioral compass for individuals within an organization, being honed and reinforced over time. Predominantly, theories centered around organizational culture perceive an organization as a system, with culture serving as an integral component that binds its members. With time, certain behaviors and attitudes that are deemed successful permeate through and evolve into foundational business practices. Indeed, varying firms may exhibit starkly contrasting norms, values, and attitudes, even within identical sectors. A noteworthy instance of such divergence is the recurrent disparities observed between Western and Japanese manufacturing entities during the 1970s. The former were anchored in rules, procedures, individual specialization, and hierarchical structures to ensure operational efficiency, stability, and consequent customer satisfaction through quality products. Conversely, the latter embraced semi-autonomous production units, collective incentives, and grassroots enhancement initiatives aimed at fostering a committed workforce and, subsequently, customer satisfaction through quality offerings. Such instances illustrate divergent corporate philosophies, distinct behavioral paradigms and reference points, converging towards a unified objective: customer satisfaction through quality product offerings. Intriguingly, divergent cultural nuances can manifest within singular entities when contrasting business functions are scrutinized. A representative example is the disparate languages spoken by the commercial and production functions within a single entity, stemming from the creation of organizational subcultures anchored in functional rationales. Organizational culture is a pivotal facet within entities for myriad reasons. It operates as a significant catalyst, analogous to organizational structure and corporate strategy, in the seamless attainment of organizational objectives. Additionally, it is a critical element to contemplate during transformational phases, as it can both streamline change management processes and simultaneously act as the principal hurdle to change due to inherent resistances. We shall now explore two principal models that shed light on organizational culture and its repercussions at the managerial echelon. These models offer insights into the nuanced interplays of cultural elements and their managerial implications within organizational settings. The model presented by Shane stands as our initial point of consideration. Shane is a renowned figure in this domain, being the first to articulate a definition of organizational culture. He portrays organizational culture as an accrual that progressively amasses over time. Shane posits that organizational culture constitutes a cohesive amalgamation of foundational assumptions conceived, unearthed, or cultivated through learning by a specific group, aimed at addressing its external adaptation and internal amalgamation challenges. These assumptions, being adequately efficacious, are deemed valid and are thus imparted to newcomers as the appropriate manner to perceive, contemplate, and feel in response to such challenges. Shane delineates that organizational culture evolves and reveals itself through three strata: artifacts, espoused values, and fundamental assumptions. Artifacts, being the most conspicuous stratum, comprise manifestations and components that are readily discernible but challenging to comprehend, including aspects like dress codes, office layouts, business customs, and the formality or informality of interactions. Observing this cultural stratum provides insights into the organization's actions and its members, albeit without uncovering the rationale behind these traits. The subsequent stratum encompasses espoused values, representing the values that organizational members express and acknowledge as guiding principles for certain behaviors, with company mission and ethical codes being pertinent examples in this category. The third and most implicit stratum is constituted by fundamental assumptions, forming the bedrock of organizational culture. Such assumptions are organizational values, so ingrained that they are perceived as self-evident by the organization's members, subtly steering behaviors while remaining unobservable. A conviction in the effectiveness of a hierarchical approach, for instance, can serve as a fundamental assumption, an implicit value influencing more overt strata. Shane's definition and his modeling of the three levels elucidate the inherent challenges in altering organizational culture, primarily due to the entrenched and subliminal nature of fundamental assumptions, highlighting why culture frequently becomes a barrier to transformation. The challenge primarily emanates from the difficulty in modifying such deeply ingrained and subconsciously held basic assumptions. Geert Hofstede's model stands as the second in our examination. His significant insights into organizational culture illuminate the connection between the culture within an organization and the national culture where it resides. Reflecting upon the initial comparison between Western and Japanese manufacturing entities, it's evident that broader cultural orientations can indeed mold the facets of organizational culture. Hofstede conceptualizes culture as the collective mental programming that differentiates one group or category of people from another. Per Hofstede's conception, culture is evidenced through symbols, heroes, rituals, values, and practices. He posits that variances in national cultures are predominantly rooted in differing values, whereas disparities in organizational cultures lie principally in practices. This implies that managerial practices are inextricably intertwined with local culture. An effective approach in one nation may not translate to success in another. Aligning management practices with the underlying cultural values is crucial for the effective orchestration of resources. Moreover, Hofstede meticulously explored the disparities among various national cultures, highlighting 5 principal dimensions that demarcate them. These include power distance, indicating the acceptance of unequal power distribution, individualism/collectivism, denoting the extent of one's alignment with a group, masculinity/femininity, with masculine societies valuing assertiveness and decisiveness, and feminine ones prioritizing well-being and tranquility, uncertainty avoidance, and temporal orientation, whether long-term or short-term. Examining power distance reveals higher levels in Latin and Asian countries and lower levels in Northern European nations. Individualism is prevalent in developed Western nations, while collectivism dominates in less developed and Asian countries. High masculinity is noted in Japan, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and is low in Nordic countries like Holland and Sweden. Regarding uncertainty avoidance, higher levels are seen in Latin nations, Japan, and German-speaking countries, with lower levels in English-speaking and Nordic countries and in Chinese culture. Examples of countries demonstrating high aversion to uncertainty include Russia and Japan, in contrast to the United States. Lastly, Asian nations exhibit a more long-term orientation, in contrast to the shorter-term orientation typical of Northern European and North American countries. In conclusion, the elucidations provided by Shane and Hofstede are vital, enabling management to intricately comprehend and formulate organizational practices that are coherent and conducive with both internal and external environments, assuring effective alignment with contextual cultural norms and values. Thanks for watching. See you next week for Lesson 1 of Chapter 2.